water's surface is calm, but even a small ripple signals a life or death moment. Hidden beneath the water's surface, crocodiles remain motionless, patiently waiting for the opportune moment to strike. They don't need chasing or strength. A single, precise attack is enough. When prey inadvertently crosses the boundary between shore and water, the tide can turn in an instant. So what determines who gains the advantage in these brief encounters? Crocodiles live in rivers, lakes, swamps, estuaries, and wetlands in Africa, Asia, the Americas, and Australia. They prefer areas with murky water, dense vegetation, and plenty of hiding places to blend in with their environment. During the day, crocodiles usually bask in the sun to regulate their body temperature, then quietly return to the water's surface, patiently waiting for the right moment to hunt. Crocodiles are perfected for a patient ambush hunting style. They can remain motionless for extended periods, only exposing their eyes and nostrils above the water's surface before launching a lightning-fast lunge when prey is close enough. Their powerful bite, precise reflexes, and ability to sense vibrations give them a constant advantage over many other animals. In sub-Saharan Africa, wild dogs live in grasslands, savannas, and open forests, moving in organized packs. In the Serengeti, they spread out in open spaces to control their direction of movement and adjust their position very quickly when the situation changes. They move continuously in open spaces, utilizing the terrain to maintain formation and control direction in all situations, until they approach a water source. Just below the water's surface, the crocodile was already in position, keeping its body low and barely moving. It silently observed as each wild dog approached to drink. One dog went ahead, stepping closer and then slowing down. The moment the wild dog lowered its head to drink, the water splashed, and the crocodile lunged, seizing its prey. The dog held captive tried to retreat towards the shore but lost its balance. The slippery mud reduced its kicking ability, and the current held its feet. The remaining dogs pressed against the water's edge, reacting quickly but unable to make a difference. The resistance shortened. The struggle quickly weakened. The outcome favored the crocodile. At the water's edge, quick reactions were insufficient to reverse the situation. Every dry season, across the vast grasslands and semi-arid regions of East Africa, herds of wildebeest migrate through the Serengeti and Masai Mara in a familiar cycle. Over 1 to 1.5 million wildebeest follow one another in search of water and new pasture. Before reaching the river, the entire herd slows down and congregates in a narrow passage. The distance between the wildebeest shortens. The risk increases at the water's edge. Beneath the murky water, the crocodile lay low to the bottom, barely moving. Only its eyes and nose were visible, monitoring the distance. As the herd of antelopes began to cross the river, the flow became chaotic. One antelope stepped further than the rest and slowed down. The distance was no longer maintained. The water surface burst, and the crocodile attacked at the point of contact. Holded down, the antelope tried to turn. Its movement gradually became uncontrollable. The slippery mud reduced its kicking power. The current held its feet. The resistance shortened. The movements became disjointed. The outcome clearly belonged to the crocodile. At the boundary between land and water, any chance of escape ended at that moment. Lions are found throughout Africa, concentrated in the Serengeti, Masai Mara, and many open areas. They approach prey at points where they are forced to slow down, such as riverbanks. The pride may try multiple times, adjusting their position and approach angle until they gain the advantage. As they get closer to water, the distance to danger begins to narrow and pressure increases. On the shore, the crocodile lay basking in the sun, keeping its body low, facing the approaching pride of lions. The formation was wide, the pressure increasing. The crocodile turned, maintaining distance. The formation paused briefly. At that moment, it lunged forward, breaking the gap. The lions in front retreated. The situation quickly shifted to a brief standoff. Then, a forced retreat. Under repeated close approaches, the lions could not maintain their stable position. The crocodile maintained the gap it had created, then swiftly slid into the water. In seconds, it disappeared. The water surface became calm again. No lions were held back. At the water's edge, where the advantage was unclear, the outcome was decided the moment the gap was broken. In the vast savannas of Africa, buffalo move in large herds, consistently following water sources in familiar cycles. An adult weighs 500 to 900 kilograms, with enough force to knock away other predators. This strength provides a sense of security when approaching a river. But once the entire herd begins to enter the water, the risk increases rapidly for those who stray from the group. Beneath the river's surface, the crocodile held its position close to the bottom, almost invisible. It watched the herd's rhythm. When one stepped deeper and slowed, a protective gap appeared. A brief pause, no clear sign. As soon as the center of gravity shifted downward, the water burst. The crocodile lunged, locking its hind legs in place. With the hold, the buffalo tried to turn back to shore but lost its balance. The current held its legs, the pulling force deflecting its movement. Each resistance shortened. The distance to the bank did not decrease. The escape attempt stopped there. The outcome favored the crocodile. The moment of impact had shaped the entire result. Between East and South Africa, impalas live in grasslands, scrubland, and open woodlands. In the Serengeti, they position themselves near the edge of the scrubland to both forage and have a retreat route. Their jumping and changing of direction abilities help them react quickly. However, as they approach the water's edge, the safe space narrows, and the risk begins to increase. Right at the water's edge, the crocodile maintained a low position, almost completely concealing its body. It wasn't in a hurry, waiting for the distance to shorten. As an impala gently separated from the safe edge and lowered its head to drink, the distance continued to narrow, bringing the situation to a near-close approach. At that moment, the water surface surged, pulling the entire action into deeper water. At the initial point of impact, the impala recoiled but lost its footing, causing its trajectory to deviate. The slippery mud reduced its kicking force, while the current held its feet. The reaction time became less effective, and the struggle shortened. The outcome favored the crocodile. The situation was established right at the water's edge. Throughout the situation, the difference lay not in speed or leaping power, but in the control of distance. Once the safe point was abandoned, the chance of turning back was almost non-existent. Therefore, at the boundary between land and water, the outcome was already decided before the action ended. In the grasslands and savannas of sub-Saharan Africa, hyenas are well adapted to open spaces and long-distance vision. They move nimbly, constantly observing and assessing to decide whether to hunt or steal prey. Their ability to remember food locations and coordinate in groups allows them to exploit the mistakes of their rivals to gain an advantage with less energy expenditure, making every decision carefully calculated before approaching. On the dry grass, the crocodile crawled ashore, lay still near the water's edge, and spotted a hyena feeding on a carcass above. It advanced slowly, keeping its body close to the ground to get closer. The hyena continued to eat but had to adjust its pace, gradually increasing the pressure. As the hyena took another step, the crocodile lunged, forcing it back and taking a position close to the food source. After the initial pressure, the hyena changed direction, circling to find a way back, but the advantage was gone. The crocodile turned, blocking its path and holding its position, interrupting every attempt. The pace of approach slowed, forcing the hyena to retreat. The outcome favored the crocodile. The advantage remained until the hyena left the area. Unlike many predators, the cheetah relies on speed and timing to survive. It strikes quickly, finishes quickly, and retreats before another predator appears. After each successful hunt, it only has a few minutes to eat before being detected. Therefore, the cheetah usually chooses weak or out-of-tune prey, carefully observes the timing, and finishes it off in a very short time. And its need for water forces it to approach the river's edge. At the river's edge on the savanna, the crocodile had already positioned itself, barely moving. It watched every movement along the river's edge. After a long run, the cheetah descended to drink. It looked around, then paused briefly. The moment its head lowered, the water splashed. The crocodile lunged, locking onto the point of contact. After the initial contact, the cheetah tried to spring back away from the water's edge, but the leverage wasn't enough to maintain balance. The crocodile held on tightly and pulled it off course, rendering the quick reaction ineffective. The cheetah couldn't escape. The outcome favored the crocodile. The situation was decided from the very first moment of contact. Every crocodile hunt shows that victory doesn't always belong to the strongest or fastest. With patience, near-perfect camouflage, and incredible precision, they turn ordinary moments into decisive opportunities. On the boundary between land and water, every movement can be a signal of danger. Just one wrong step or a moment of carelessness can determine the outcome. In nature, even the most fearsome predators don't always win, and every attack carries a risk. There are moments when prey reacts at the right time, disrupting the entire approach and forcing the hunter to pause in the throes of the attack. It is in these brief setbacks that power is halted. The tide turns, and the outcome is decided in seconds. In the arid regions and open forests of Africa, warthogs live in open areas near water sources, where they can easily observe danger and maintain distance from predators. They often forage in open grasslands, but always stay near their burrows. And this reliance on terrain gives them an advantage when being pursued. One afternoon on the savannah, near the entrance to a herd of wild boars, a pride of lions silently approached, lowering their bodies and circling to get closer. When they were close enough, they suddenly lunged, forcing the herd to react. The young retreated into the burrow, while the adults turned to face them, shifting to a direct defensive stance. The situation reversed when the warthog used the burrow's system to change direction, causing the lions to lose track and fail to maintain pressure. While the predators waited at the entrance, the prey emerged from another opening and left the area. Ultimately, the lions gave up and lost control of the situation. In such situations, the advantage doesn't come from strength, but from the ability to utilize the terrain and maintain an escape route, diverting the entire approach. When the pursuit is cut off, the rhythm of the hunt is disrupted, and when the prey maintains its distance, the outcome changes. On the vast Serengeti savanna, wildebeest congregate in open areas where visibility allows for early detection of danger and access to water dictates their movement. Millions of individuals migrate seasonally over long distances, and this constant movement sometimes leaves them exposed in open spaces. Amidst the low grass, a lion silently approached a gazelle, adjusting its approach to match its target's movement. It didn't charge straight ahead, choosing a favorable angle, then suddenly accelerating. However, the gazelle immediately turned, maintaining its position and preventing the gap from being closed. The battle reversed as the gazelle proactively advanced, using its large body and horns to force the lion to retreat and constantly adjust. The distance was maintained, preventing the attack from being sustained. Finally, the lion gave up and left the area. In this type of confrontation, the deciding factor isn't the initial charge, but rather controlling space and maintaining the rhythm of the reaction. When the distance isn't broken, the advantage doesn't lie with the attacker, and the situation quickly shifts in favor of defense. Along the Amazon River's tributaries, caiman crocodiles live in murky waters where visibility is limited and movement is perceived more through vibrations than visual observation. They lurk beneath the surface, waiting for the opportune moment to ambush. And this environment makes any activity on shore vulnerable to exploitation. At the water's edge, a leopard paused to observe the crocodile, adjusting its position to avoid detection. It maintained its distance and waited for its opponent's reaction. When the time came, the leopard suddenly plunged into the water, forcing the crocodile to retreat to deeper water to escape. The situation changed when the crocodile dived deep and held its position underwater, preventing the leopard from maintaining pressure. Despite continuing to track and move along the shore, the leopard could not find an opportunity to gain control. Finally, it stopped and retreated when the situation was no longer favorable. When environmental boundaries change, the outcome depends not on the initial attack, but on utilizing the environment effectively. If the advantage leans towards the side familiar with the terrain, all attempts to approach become less effective, and the situation quickly closes. Throughout the savannas and woodlands of Africa, hyenas adapt to a wide range of conditions, from expansive grasslands to arid regions. They are not dependent on fixed terrain, but follow their food sources. And this adaptability means encounters often begin unexpectedly. After subduing its prey, the cheetah had barely settled in the grass when it noticed the hyena approaching. It retreated slightly to maintain distance, while its opponent approached slowly but steadily, applying pressure. The longer the fight dragged on, the more the cheetah's defenses were weakened. The situation shifted when the hyena pressed relentlessly, preventing the cheetah from regaining its rhythm. The cheetah lost momentum, forced to leave the area, and abandoned its prey. From that point on, control belonged to the more persistent one. In short, the deciding factor is not speed, but the ability to maintain pressure. When the rhythm is broken, opportunities diminish rapidly. And when pressure is relentlessly increasing, the outcome usually favors the more persistent. In the savanna grasslands and swamps of Africa, buffalo often congregate near water sources, where mud provides coolness and protection from insects. They move in large herds, changing areas seasonally in search of water and grass. And this constant movement often leads to unavoidable encounters. In an open clearing in the grassland, an old lioness spotted a buffalo that had separated from the herd and began to approach, lowering her body to stalk it, thereby closing the distance. She maintained a slow pace, waiting for the opportune moment, then suddenly accelerated, turning the situation into a direct confrontation. The situation quickly reversed when the buffalo turned around, using its size and strength to create distance, forcing the lioness to constantly change direction and gradually lose control. Other members of the herd approached, increasing the pressure, causing the lioness to lose the initiative and retreat, leaving her target behind. In such encounters, the outcome doesn't depend on the first strike, but on the ability to maintain position against a collective reaction. When distance is maintained, the advantage gradually shifts, and when the initiative changes, the situation rarely reverses. In the expansive savannas of Africa, impalas live in areas with both grass and low scrub, foraging and watching for danger. They are usually near water sources and move in herds, always keeping their distance from predators. Therefore, any exposure to open terrain makes them easy targets. A lion stealthily approaches its impala on the grass, lowering its body and adjusting its trajectory to track the pride. It maintains a slow pace, waiting for the right moment, then suddenly accelerates and lunges forward. The impala reacts immediately, changing direction rapidly and leaping, maintaining distance and disrupting the lion's approach. The attack is halted as the impala maintains its distance with speed and sharp changes of direction, causing the lion to lose its rhythm. The distance continues to widen, forcing the predator to stop. The opportunity slips out of control, and the hunt ends unfavorably. In these chases, speed and the ability to change direction are the decisive factors, deviating from the entire approach process. When the rhythm is broken, the advantage disappears, and when the distance is maintained, the tide turns decisively in favor of the prey. In the grasslands, scrublands, and woodlands of Africa, hedgehogs live in areas with dry leaves and low-lying terrain, where they can easily hide and find food. Some species even appear near farms and residential areas, taking advantage of the abundant food sources and thus maintaining a state of alert against unexpected threats. On dry land, a leopard spots a porcupine and begins to approach, observing its reaction and maneuvering, adjusting its direction to find a weakness. When the time is right, the leopard suddenly lunges, but the porcupine immediately curls up, entering a tight defensive posture. The attack quickly loses its effectiveness as the leopard cannot overcome the porcupine's sharp spines, forcing it to retreat. Subsequent attempts are unsuccessful, increasing the risk. Finally, the leopard gives up and leaves when it can no longer maintain control. In this type of confrontation, advantage doesn't come from strength, but from the ability to maintain a defensive posture at the right time, deflecting the approach. When the rhythm is disrupted, opportunities gradually disappear, and when the defensive structure holds firm, the outcome quickly favors the smaller creature. Through each encounter, the common thread is the ability to observe, control the rhythm, and seize the moment in a harsh environment where every mistake is costly. The deciding factor isn't absolute strength, but how each species adapts, reads the situation, and turns a small advantage into a significant difference in an instant. And when conditions no longer favor the attacker, even the most fearsome predators are forced to stop before it's too late.